Thursday, September 11th. I'm Anna.
And I'm Ashley. Instead of our normal morning show, we're going to do something a little different today.
Today is the 24th anniversary of one of our darkest days in American history. None of our current student body was born yet, so we wanted to talk to some of our faculty who remember that day.
Okay, I was a teacher at Waterson Lake Elementary School, west side of Cleveland.
On the morning of 9/11, I'd come into school, and one of the things I noticed was what a beautiful day it was. At the time, I was working supporting technology. I had an office to the side. And I also was pregnant, very pregnant with my son.
On 9/11, I was in college at The Ohio University in Athens.
I was here at BBH teaching.
The morning of 9/11, I was a second-year teacher. I was teaching middle school French at Center Middle School in Strongsville. I was engaged. I was actually sick that day from work, and I was at my parents' house instead of my own apartment like I normally am.
I was in my late 30s. I had just dropped my children off for school, and I had gotten back home and was just sitting in front of the TV. I was waiting. I was going to start a new job in about a week.
All right, so September 11th, 2001, I was a freshman at Bowling Green State University, and woke up in the morning, went to my American history class, only to find the TA standing outside the door telling students to go home.
The day appeared to be like any other September morning. It was crisp. The sky was blue and scattered with puffy clouds. Then the school day began in normal fashion. At 8:46 a.m., all of that changed.
So I believe it was third period. The principal at the time, whose name was Mr. Brian Wilch, came over the announcements and asked the entire school to turn on their televisions because we didn't have smart boards then.
I was at home. In fact, I had the television on, but they broke in to the regular network and reported that a plane had crashed into the tower.
My dad was up watching the Today Show like he did every morning, and I heard him say, "Hey, Kelly, you should wake up and see what's happening because I do not know what's going on."
As the morning progressed, people struggled to make sense of what was happening.
Turned on the TV and kind of watched the rest of the day unfold collectively in kind of little dorm room pods. So we had kids coming into our room from all over the hall, and we were moving around into different rooms and talking and trying to figure out really what was happening.
And at first, I just thought, I was horrified, absolutely horrified and riveted, and just watching the TV. And I just thought it was an accident.
So we turned on the televisions in time to see the first tower on fire. We did not see the plane hit the first tower except in replays of cameras later.
It was on the news, and a bunch of the guys that I lived with were watching it, and I didn't know exactly what was going on and thought it was like some sort of preview for a movie or something.
Mm-hmm. Once the South Tower hit at 9:03 a.m., it was clear that this was not going to be any other ordinary day. As the country tried to figure it out, so did our staff members.
And I was heading through by where the assistant principal's offices were, and I actually saw one of the planes hit one of the towers.
We were watching it live when the second plane hit the second tower, and then we knew it was an attack.
And then as we were watching, we watched the second plane hit the second tower. And my dad went outside just to look at the sky, and we heard like fighter jets launch from Vienna, the Air Force Base.
I'm a social studies person. I'm like, okay, where those towers are, that's not an accident. That's an intention. And while I was there, the second was struck, and I immediately hightailed it to my office, called my mom. Needed to make sure my father wasn't working in one of the towers. And he wasn't.
And it was tough because some of the guys that I lived with were actually from upstate New Jersey, right around the city, and had family who worked at the towers and things along those lines, and had actually been part of the original New York World Trade Center attack in 1993.
I was really paralyzed. I remember sitting in front of the television for hours. I mean, I didn't know what to do.
And then at 9:59 a.m., the unthinkable happened. The South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed, scattering debris and rubble all over. After that, a plane hit the Pentagon. Another plane crash landed outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, compounding the confusion and loss.
There were kids in the building who, at the time, you're not carrying cell phones. So people knew I had a phone in my office. So I had kids who came in and said, "Hey, I have a parent who got on a plane this morning. I don't know where they were going. I need to call." And so I did.
It was overwhelming, honestly. It was something that, had really never happened during my lifetime. I think, the only comparable thing that you can really talk about, from United States history is similar was Pearl Harbor that had taken place in the 1940s.
And I will never forget what I was wearing that day. It was picture day. I was wearing a dress. I will never forget the kids in my class that day. I was teaching Spanish 3. And as that tower is coming down and the commentators are like almost in tears, one of my students said, "Senora, did they get the people out?" I really wanted to lie.
How most people probably felt. Shocked, a little scared.
It was just really surreal because you don't think about it because planes are around all the time, but suddenly when there's no planes in the sky whatsoever, and you live somewhere that normally they're just part of the flight path, it seems really quiet and really...
There was so much going on that day. It was very surreal. I happened to live close to the airport at the time. When I went home from work, it was silent. Like never did you hear the sky silent.
It was just, yeah, it was, and at first you're thinking, can this even be real? But yeah, later in the day, we just talked to a lot of friends. Everybody was crying.
And for the first time in my life, and for many people around me, there was fear. Right? We had to kind of worry and wonder about what tomorrow was going to bring. And is this just the start of something new? Is this to be expected on a regular basis? We really had no idea.
Those who were impacted by 9/11 have been impacted for life.
That day has marked most adults' lives since then. And it was a devastating day. We did not have school on September 12th. The whole country just stopped.
And it was silent for days after. For people who lived it, we don't forget it, ever.
But through the tragedy, some staff remember something hopeful.
It was wonderful to see how people came together. When something like that happens, it brings people together, and it doesn't matter what your background is, what your thoughts are, what your politics are. Everyone came together as Americans to support other folks, and that felt good.
I think one of the things that came out of it that we can look back on fondly, maybe as hard as that might be to say or comprehend, is that sense of togetherness that we felt as a country. It's something that was unparalleled.
And that is all for our special segment on 9/11. We'll be back with our normal news and announcements tomorrow. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ashley. Thank you for watching, and remember, as always, we are BBH.